My husband has a close friend who had just returned after many years. At the welcome party, for the fifth time, she deliberately provoked me and even openly acted intimate with my husband. And this time, I couldn't hold back anymore. Ashley Brooks, in a fiery red spaghetti-strap dress like a burning flame, sat pressed right next to James Carter, my husband, her body almost glued to his arm as if that's exactly where she belonged. Ashley's bright smile widened the moment she saw me, her sweet voice ringing out as though nothing was out of place. "Laura, how's work these days?" I smiled, forcing myself to look composed, raising my glass of wine, ready to respond. But then I caught Ashley leaning closer, her lips nearly brushing James's ear, whispering something. James lowered his head to listen, the corner of his lips curving into a smile I had never seen before. It wasn't the polite, weary smile he gave me on late nights after work. This was effortless, relaxed, full of delight, the kind of smile that, with one sharp, cold cut, made me realize he had never once given to me. I tried to focus on the menu, but my eyes refused to leave them. At the table, Ashley kept lightly brushing her fingers against James's hand, each touch seeming accidental, yet calculated. Her voice turned soft, almost childish, as if she was a spoiled little girl. "James, cut the steak for me. You do it better than I do." James shook his head with a faint, reluctant smile, yet still picked up the knife and carefully sliced each piece of meat. When Ashley casually reached over and placed a piece of steak from James's plate onto hers, I waited for him to frown or gently scold her. But no, James merely glanced at her, his gaze tender as if her gesture was completely natural, then continued eating what was left. I put my fork and knife down. The sharp clink of metal against porcelain was loud enough to make James flinch and glance up. He looked at me, eyes flickering with brief unease, but almost instantly turned back to his conversation with Ashley. For the next 2 hours, I sat in silence, motionless, like an unwilling audience watching a play I was never invited to be a part of. Ashley sipped orange juice from James's glass, giggling when they ordered the same dish. "James, you always remember what I like," she said, her voice proud, as though it was a secret only they shared. She slid her half-eaten dessert plate toward James. "I'm full." James didn't object. He simply picked up the fork and finished it casually, like it was a habit they'd long had. Their exchanged glances, the subtle touches, the stories from their past, memories I wasn't part of. "Remember when we got lost in Paris?" Ashley laughed loudly, placing her hand on James's shoulder. James burst out laughing, his eyes lighting up as the memory returned, completely forgetting I was sitting right there, excluded from their world. The breaking point came when Ashley started talking about her struggles while studying abroad, her voice suddenly soft, trembling with emotion. "There were days I just wanted to give up, James." No one could ever understand how that felt. James looked at her, his eyes full of sympathy. And then, without a moment's hesitation, he pulled out his credit card, placed it on the table, and said the words that made my entire world collapse beneath me. "Spend whatever you want." Then suddenly, Ashley shot up from her chair. The glass of red wine tipped, spilling across my white dress. The icy liquid seeped deep, spreading like a fresh bloodstain. The sharp smell of alcohol rose, burning my nose. Ashley covered her mouth, eyes wide, feigning shock. "Oh my God, Laura! I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." I looked down at the blotched red stain. My heart pounded, my stomach twisted. I knew this wasn't an accident. I saw the fleeting glimmer of triumph in her eyes. James only shook his head, his voice gentle but full of indulgence. "Be more careful next time. He handed the napkin to Ashley first, wiped her hand first. Only then did he turn to me. Honey, do you want to go to the restroom and clean up? The fifth time. I counted. This was the fifth time she provoked me tonight. The accidental touches. The stories that excluded me from their conversations. I lifted my head and saw James twirling a strand of Ashley's curls between his fingers, caressing it delicately, as if he was touching something precious. Heat flooded my face. My breaths came fast and uneven. The air in the room felt frozen solid. I picked up my wineglass, stood, without hesitation, threw it straight at James's face. Smack! Red wine splattered everywhere. It ran down his face, soaked into his collar, dripping heavily onto the gray suit I had chosen for him. The room fell silent, like the sound had been sucked out. Only the faint dripping of wine remained. I spoke slowly, each word landing sharp as a blade. You are humiliating yourself. James shot up instantly. His face flushed red from the wine and anger. Laura Winters! Have you lost your mind? Ashley covered her face, pretending to be stunned. Oh my God, Laura! Why would you do that? She clutched James's arm, her voice trembling as if she were about to cry. James, did I say something wrong that upset Laura? I picked up the napkin, wiping my hands leisurely. A faint smile on my lips, my voice low, cold. Sorry. Slipped my hand. James slammed his glass onto the table, his eyes blazing. Laura? Apologize to Ashley right now. Let's end this. I tilted my head, looking at him, smiled. Then turned to Ashley, my voice soft but razor sharp. Oh, Ashley, why don't you explain first? Why did you text my husband at 2 a.m.? Miss you. Her face froze. Her eyes widened, this time for real. James spun toward me, stammering. It's just friends. A random text, that's all. Ashley trembled, then cried. Tears streamed down like a seasoned actress. Laura, you went through James's phone? I rested my chin on my hand, my voice steady, icy. No. He fell asleep. The screen lit up. The message popped right there. No one spoke, only the ticking of the wall clock. Heavy breaths. Every gaze at the table fixed downward, the silence thick, as if waiting for an explosion. I was the first to stand, grabbed my bag, smirked faintly. Take your time. I'm leaving. James shot up, reaching for me. Honey, just let me explain. Before he could finish, his drunk friends pulled him back. James, where are you going? The party's just getting started. Ashley clutched his sleeve too, her voice soft, almost whining. James, you forgot. You promised to drive me home? I stepped into the elevator. The doors slid shut slowly. Through the narrowing gap, I saw James standing there, being held back, his face clouded with confusion. My phone buzzed endlessly on the way home. Message after message. Ashley's just being playful. You're overthinking it. Go home, I'll be back soon. I stared at them for a moment, then blocked his number. Without hesitation, one swift cut, severing the heavy chain. That night, I lay staring at the ceiling. No sleep, no tears. Memories replayed like a broken film reel. The winters when he wrapped a scarf around me, the reconciliatory hugs, the whispered promises, and Ashley's laughter tonight crushed them all into dust. My screen lit up again. A message from Noah, his friend. Laura, James is too drunk. Can you come pick him up? I didn't reply. Then a photo arrived. James sprawled across a sofa, eyes closed, mumbling incoherently. Ashley practically on top of him, one arm around his neck, the other holding her phone up for a selfie. That radiant smile. The distance between them. Gone. I stared at it for a moment, then turned off my phone, pulled the curtains closed. The room darkened, cold, silent. The morning light had fully broken through, soft golden rays slipping in through the window slats and casting faint streaks across the wooden floor. A deceptively peaceful calm after the storm of the night before. I walked downstairs and saw James slumped over the sofa, hair disheveled, suit crumpled, looking like a drunken wanderer who'd lost his way home. His body reeked of sharp alcohol, mixed with a faint trace of sweet lavender perfume, gentle but unfamiliar, not the scent I usually wore. That smell clung to him like a vivid reminder of Ashley, twisting my stomach as if mocking my naivety. I didn't wake him. I just quietly walked into the kitchen, poured a glass of water. The sound of it trickling echoed in the silence. Then I placed the glass on the countertop with a dry clack, loud enough to wake him. James jolted upright immediately, his body swaying as if emerging from a nightmare, eyes scanning the room in panic. "Laura!" His voice was hoarse, weak. I said nothing, just turned and walked straight to the door, bending slowly to put on my shoes, my every movement deliberate, as though I were trying to suppress the emotional surge rising inside me. "Where are you going?" he called after me, staggering across the floor, his voice still rough from the remnants of alcohol, as if trying to hold on to something slipping out of his grasp. I bent to tie my shoes, not even glancing at him, my voice calm, cold. "To work." My eyes skimmed the collar of his shirt, still stained with a faint smudge of red lipstick. No doubt another one of Ashley's accidental souvenirs from last night. Yet another trace of betrayal. "Let me drive you," he pleaded, still in the same wrinkled shirt from the night before, the collar undone, revealing flushed skin beneath. "No need," I said flatly. Just before opening the door, I paused, turned to stare at him, my tone even but sharp. "Don't come to the office today either. Clean yourself up and think hard about what we're going to do next." His face darkened, brows furrowed, eyes flashing with confusion. "What do you mean?" "I mean it's time for you to choose," I replied, voice steady, each word cutting through the heavy air between us like a blade. I looked at him, his messy hair, reddened eyes from lack of sleep, and continued, "Do you want to keep taking care of that best friend who just returned and somehow always needs you? Or do you want to hold on to this marriage?" His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed something bitter, his voice soft, pleading. "About last night. I can explain." I lifted my gaze, cold eyes searching his face for any sign of a lie. "Explain what? How she ended up in your arms? Or how you forgot about me last night?" "Laura." His eyes were flustered, evasive, his voice trembling. "She just got back. She's not used to things yet. I was just helping. She's just a friend." He repeated the feeble excuse, fists clenched, as though trying to convince himself more than me. "A friend?" I laughed, but the sound was dry, void of warmth, full of bitterness and pain. "James, we've been together for 10 years, married for 3. Don't you think your version of caring has already crossed the line?" His expression shifted slightly, brows drawing tighter as if I'd struck a nerve, but he still tried to defend himself, voice faltering. "You're overthinking it. Ashley and I grew up together. She's always been like that." "And you?" I cut in, voice icy, stepping closer, staring straight into his eyes. "Is your personality just letting yourself get attached to someone else's leftovers? Letting her cling to you like a tail without flinching?" "James, ask yourself," I continued, my voice lower but heavy, making him avert his gaze. "If she had no intentions toward you, why does she keep testing my boundaries?" His face grew gloomier, lips pressed tightly, and after a long silence, he sighed and admitted in a weary voice. "I admit, she has some feelings for me." I gave a faint, bitter smile. So he finally told the truth. And somehow, that truth hurt even more. James clenched his fists, his voice rough, full of despair. "But Laura, my feelings for you haven't changed. I truly have no intentions toward her." I stared him down, looking for any flicker of hesitation or guilt. But he met my gaze with such sincere eyes, it was almost unsettling. And that sincerity, now, only felt ridiculous, like a badly acted play. No intentions? I stood taller, looking down on him, my voice a notch louder, thick with sarcasm. Then tell me why she feels comfortable provoking me right in front of you. Why do you always defend her? When I walked out last night and she asked you to take her home, did you hesitate even once? James was speechless, mouth open but no words coming out, face pale, hands trembling like he was trying to grasp air. You see, I said coldly, voice echoing in the still room, you can't even lie to yourself, and you expect to convince me? He stayed quiet for a long while, finally rubbing his temples in distress, his voice barely audible. I just thought, she's been away so long, maybe she needed someone to care? And that someone had to be you? I scoffed, voice thick with irony, stepping closer and jabbing a finger into his chest. James, please. Wake up. She's not some lonely, helpless girl. She's a woman trying to drag you into bed. She's trying to take my place. His eyes flickered in panic, brows twitching, voice shaking. Laura, it's not like that. Then what is it? My voice dropped, exhausted, broken. She's crossed the line again and again, and you've excused her every single time. James, are you lying to me, or just to yourself? The room fell into a thick silence, broken only by his heavy breathing and the pounding in my ears. After a long pause, he finally spoke, voice weak. So what do you want me to do? Do I really need to tell you? I stared at him, each word sharp as a blade. If you truly care about me, you'd cut her off completely. Now. He froze, face stiffening, and after a pause, he gave a hollow, self-mocking laugh, his voice gravelly. All right. I turned to grab my coat, not wanting to look at him for another second, my movements quick, like I was running from the pain. Think carefully before you come find me again. I stepped out the door, fingers ice cold, clutching the handle as my heart burned with a slow, consuming ache spreading through my chest. 10 years of love, 3 years of marriage, and this is how it ends. Or maybe I should have seen it sooner. This marriage had long shown its cracks, tiny fractures that built up over time, now split wide into a chasm I could no longer cross. Act 4. The glass facade of the office building reflected my pale, exhausted face. In the elevator, my fingers unconsciously fiddled with the strap of my watch, the one James gave me on our first wedding anniversary, now nothing more than a silent witness to the days that had fallen apart. As the door slid open, my assistant rushed over, blocking my way slightly, her voice hesitant. Mrs. Carter, Ms. Winters is waiting for you in your office. I stopped short. Ashley Winters? She nodded. Yes, she said. She had an appointment with you. I let out a faint, cold laugh and walked straight into my office. Ashley was fiddling with the photo frame on my desk. Our wedding picture. James and I smiling happily, a memory now reduced to a bitter joke. When she saw me, she flashed a sweet smile. Laura, finally, we get to meet. I walked around, pulled out my chair, and sat down, my voice flat. What do you want from me? She tilted her head, feigning innocence. James said he was supposed to take me to see some houses today, but I couldn't reach him, so I thought I'd ask you. Houses? My fingers froze above the keyboard, a sharp pang shooting through my chest, but my voice stayed steady. He drank too much last night. He's probably still sleeping. Ah, I see. She blinked, acting coy. I just got back to the country. Haven't found a place yet. James said I could stay at your place for now. Thud! I slammed the folder shut, the sharp sound making Ashley's shoulders flinch. Ashley! I looked straight at her, my words clipped and cold. If you really need a place to stay, I don't mind booking you a long-term hotel. But of course, you pay for it yourself. Her smile froze. Laura, what do you mean by that? Ashley, I raised my head, my tone cutting. Do you know this company was built by both James and me? She froze for a beat, then let out a small laugh. Of course I know, but… She leaned in, lowering her voice, her crimson-tipped nails resting on the back of my chair like a quiet challenge. James said, if I want, I can come here and help out. I stood up, towering over her, my voice sharp. Did he also tell you the initial capital for this company came from me? Her expression stiffened. I walked to the cabinet, pulled out the shareholder agreement, flipped to the last page, where James's signature was printed clearly. The clause read, in the event of infidelity during the marriage, all founding shares will automatically transfer to the other spouse. Ashley's face paled, but she forced a steady tone. You're misunderstanding. James and I are just friends. Friends? I cut her off with a cold laugh. Friends who send private, suggestive pictures? Her pupils shrank, and I continued, calm but lethal. Last December, you filmed that little teasing video on the hotel balcony in London, and he left you a heart. Ashley's lips trembled, her voice shaking. You! How do you have that? I held up my phone, opened the video, and said softly, because I know my husband better than you do. Before walking out, I threw one last line over my shoulder. If you want to compete, go ahead. Let's see if he's willing to lose everything for you. That afternoon, James unexpectedly came to pick me up from work on time, something rare in 3 years of marriage. He leaned against the car, suit neat, demeanor polished, playing the role of the perfect husband. I looked at him, my face expressionless, my gaze cold. He sighed, stepped closer, and lowered his voice. Laura, can we talk? Talk about what? I asked, my lips curling faintly in sarcasm. About how many houses you took Ashley to see today, or about who you've decided to choose. His face froze. He clearly hadn't expected me to be this direct. I didn't take her to see any houses, he rasped. I was at the company all day. Oh, really? I scoffed softly, opening the car door and sliding in. You're so busy, yet somehow still find time to stand here putting on a show for me? He didn't respond, just silently started the car, his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. After a long silence, he finally said, I promise I won't contact her privately anymore. I stared out the window, the cityscape blurring past, offering no reply. I mean it, he added, firmer this time. I can tell her directly. I turned to him. You mean you're ready to cut her off completely? He didn't answer immediately. His throat moved as he swallowed, clearly hesitating. I let out a low, cold laugh. James, if even a simple promise like that makes you falter, what exactly are you holding on to? He finally lifted his gaze and met mine. All right, I'll make it clear to her. I didn't respond, only glanced down at my hands, a heaviness sinking deep into my chest. By the time we pulled up to the house, night had fallen. James unbuckled his seatbelt, ready to walk in with me, but then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, froze for a second, then quickly silenced it. Work calling? I asked, smiling faintly, my tone light but laced with mockery. Yeah, there's an issue with a project. I have to head back to the company, he said, avoiding my eyes. My company. A problem, and I somehow didn't know? The lie was so clumsy I almost laughed. Is that so? I murmured, unbuckling my belt slowly, still smiling. Work always comes first, after all. He exhaled in relief and drove off quickly like a man running from something. I stood at the doorway, watching his car disappear into the dark, then pulled out my phone. Sure enough, 30 minutes earlier, Ashley had posted an update. Feverish and so tired, no medicine at home. Attached was a photo, her in a silk slip dress, flushed cheeks, curled up on a sofa, her gaze soft and inviting. In the end, he still chose to go to her. My heart didn't ache anymore. All that remained was an empty, frozen hollow inside me, as if every last bit of feeling had been drained away. The sound of the phone ringing on the nightstand tore through the silence of the night, a shrill, piercing noise that sliced into the fragile illusion of peace in the room. I opened my eyes, lying motionless, staring at the pitch-black ceiling, letting the vibration of the ringtone pound against my already frayed nerves. The phone screen lit up, casting a pale cold blue light into the darkness, the numbers 2:17 a.m. glowing clearly on the clock. An unknown number appeared, but I knew exactly who it was. By the third ring, I reached out and picked up, my fingers trembling slightly, but without hesitation. I didn't speak, only listened, holding my breath tightly in my chest. On the other end, there were faint rustling sounds, like someone shifting on a bed, the soft dip of a mattress under the weight of two bodies, the whisper of fabric brushing against skin, suggestive and intimate. And then, Ashley's soft, sweet laugh spilled through the speaker, melting and sticky like honey. "James!" Her voice was lazy, laced with giggles, childish and needy, as if pouting to someone who adored her beyond measure. "Don't. Stop." James's breathing was heavy, thick, like suppressed fire caught in his throat, drenched in desire and lack of restraint. "Ashley." His voice came out hoarse, broken, achingly familiar. The same voice he used to whisper my name when he held me from behind, lips brushing my neck, trembling with the loss of control during our most intimate moments. But now he used that voice to call her name, and it was a knife twisting deep into my chest. My heart stopped in that instant, blood rushing to my temples, ears ringing under the crushing pressure, as if a bomb were ticking down inside my skull. I thought I'd scream, thought I'd break down and yell into the phone, but strangely, I stayed quiet. I just lay there, clutching the bedsheet so tightly my nails pierced the soft fabric, heat burning through my fingertips as if my skin were on fire. Ashley's voice came again, breathy, teasing, mockingly tender. "Gentler." James chuckled softly, didn't reply, but the sound of fabric rustling intensified, the headboard thudding rhythmically against the wall, each heavy thump pounding in time with the betrayal searing through me. I slowly closed my eyes, forcing myself to swallow the wave of pain crashing inside. It turned out the body betrays reason. My chest clenched so tight it felt impossible to breathe, as though a slab of stone pressed against my ribs, weighing down my lungs until air could barely pass. How absurd, I thought, remembering how just that morning he'd stood in front of me, eyes steady, promising, "I'll cut ties with her." His voice so firm, so convincing, like he was saving us. And now, here he was, lying in her bed, giving away pieces of himself that used to belong to me. My lips curved faintly in the darkness, a bitter, humorless smile, but when my fingers brushed my cheek, they met a cold tear sliding down silently, proof that pain could bleed out without a sound. Through the phone, Ashley's breath came faster, deliberate, dripping with meaning. "Does she know?" A brief silence. Then James's breathing quickened, and he murmured, "Know what?" "Know that you lied. Said you were working late." She paused deliberately, her giggle cutting sharp and cruel. "When really, you came to me." My lungs seized, my throat locked. She wanted me to hear this, to know the man I trusted had already betrayed me, and she was reveling in my ignorance. The phone screen still glowed, the timer climbing second by second, counting down the collapse of my marriage. "Don't say things like that." James's voice finally came steadier, but still soft, still indulgent. "She'll never find out." He didn't know I was there, listening, every word stabbing deeper, like 1,000 tiny blades. Ashley laughed softly, broken between ragged breaths. Then, "Who do you want more? Her, or me?" The silence that followed was suffocating, 2 endless seconds stretching into eternity. And then James's hoarse whisper cut through it. "You!" One single word. Clean, sharp, final. A blade severing the last fragile thread, holding my heart together. My fingers went slack, and the phone slipped from my hand, landing hard against the floor, the sound echoing through the darkness like a gavel sealing a verdict. The line had gone dead. The screen dimmed, plunging the room into shadow again, the faint silver moonlight spilling through the window, stretching my silhouette long and hollow across the cold wooden floor, as empty and endless as the nameless ache gnawing through me. Slowly, I sat up, bending to pick up the phone, my hands trembling, but inside, everything had gone numb. No more anger, no more tears, only a vast, silent void where love used to live. From that day on, I moved out and returned to the apartment near my company, the one I had bought before getting married. James came by a few times, each time carrying flowers, looking more haggard than the last, his voice hoarse from sleepless nights and belated regret. "Laura, I really know I was wrong." His pleading eyes, furrowed brows, and trembling hands made it look as though the guilt was eating him alive from the inside out. I stood behind the door, opening it just a small crack, watching him through that narrow space, my voice flat and cold. "Is that so?" There was silence outside for a few seconds, only his heavy sigh breaking through. But I didn't invite him in, giving no gesture of forgiveness. He continued, his voice shaky. "I've cut off contact with Ashley. Can you give me another chance?" I let out a cold, dry laugh that echoed from inside, then turned toward the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of red wine from the bottle he once gave me. The dark liquid swirling inside the crystal glass, the rich scent of ripe grapes now carrying nothing but bitterness. No matter how good the wine was, it didn't taste the same anymore. Every sip was like swallowing layers of disappointment that had built up over time. I hired the best divorce lawyer I could find, a middle-aged man with gold-rimmed glasses and a voice calm enough to sound like he was reading a financial report. He pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose and handed me a thick stack of documents, crisp white paper filled with neatly printed black lines. "Mrs. Carter, once he signs, the division of assets and properties will proceed exactly as you requested." I flipped through the file, my fingers gliding across the numbers and clauses, stopping at the name, James Carter. That name hit me like an old wound tearing open. The same name that once appeared on our wedding invitations, next to mine, surrounded by embossed flowers. The name I once signed next to on our savings account forms, under sweet messages and promises. And now, it would appear on divorce papers. A cold final period to close a chapter I thought would last forever. The lawyer noticed my silence. My head bowed as I stared at the page, and spoke softly, his voice professional, but tinged with faint concern. "Do you want to reconsider?" I shook my head and answered calmly, my tone even, almost businesslike. "That won't be necessary. Some people, no matter how long you wait, will never change." That sentence echoed inside me like a quiet, merciless reminder from a heart that had long gone numb. I arranged to meet James at our usual cafe, where the warm yellow lights glowed softly against polished wooden tables, the smell of freshly ground coffee filling the air, but failing to chase away the heavy tension. He arrived quickly, dressed in a perfectly pressed suit, his hair neatly styled with gel, looking as put together as he used to on our early dates, back when he smiled brightly and held my hand like he'd never let go. He even brought a bouquet of white lilies, the delicate petals blooming quietly under a layer of clear wrapping, releasing a soft, subtle fragrance. "Laura," he said carefully, pushing the bouquet toward me, his voice low, heavy with hope. "Your favorite." His hand trembled slightly as his fingertips brushed against the flowers, his eyes searching mine anxiously. I let out a quiet laugh, gently touching one soft petal, but refusing to take the bouquet, leaving it lying on the table like an empty, meaningless gesture. "My favorite?" His smile faltered, his brows knitting slightly, caught off guard. "Before, every time you gave me flowers, I accepted them gladly." I raised my head, meeting his gaze, my voice steady but heavy with bitterness. "Not because I liked lilies, but because I thought, you remembered that I did." His face froze, the color draining slowly, his eyes widening in confusion. I still smiled, but there was no warmth left in my expression, only cold detachment. Now, I finally understand. You remembered wrong. She's the one who likes lilies, and you thought it was me. The last hint of color drained completely from his face. Laura, I didn't, he stammered. But I cut him off before he could finish, sliding the divorce papers across the table toward him, the stack of crisp white sheets printed with bold black ink sitting there like an unappealable verdict. Sign it. His eyes scanned the documents, and suddenly his pupils trembled visibly, his fingers tightening on the edges of the paper until his knuckles turned white, his nails digging into the sheets like he was desperately trying to hold on to something slipping away. I won't sign, he said abruptly, standing up, his voice breaking, raw with desperation. I won't agree to a divorce. I stared straight at him, my voice steady but cutting like glass. Then I'll see you in court. Without warning, he snatched the papers and tore them apart in front of the entire cafe. The sharp rip of the paper slicing through the quiet room as the shredded pieces fluttered down, scattering across the floor like the broken fragments of our marriage. James, this is childish, I said softly, a weary, helpless smile tugging at my lips. His chest heaved violently, his reddened eyes burning with anger and pain. Laura, you're being too jealous. Ashley and I are really just friends. Friends? Friends who sleep together? His face drained of all color instantly, lips trembling, his pupils tightening with panic, his entire body tensing. I was already on my feet, sliding my bag over my shoulder, walking away without looking back. You? He started, voice unsteady, but I didn't stop. He grabbed my wrist suddenly, his fingers gripping tightly, trembling as though he were begging. When did you find out? I lowered my gaze to his hand, those long, familiar fingers, the same ones that once slid my wedding ring onto my finger on our wedding night, shaking slightly with emotion. The same hand that, just nights ago, caressed another woman's body with hunger. That night, I said, pulling my hand free, my voice flat but thick with quiet pain. The memories vivid. His pupils constricted sharply, his body frozen like he'd been struck by lightning, his face pale and lifeless, lips parted but unable to speak. It's not. Laura, listen, I can explain, he stuttered, his voice cracking under the weight of panic. Explain what? I tilted my head, and suddenly a sharp, hollow laugh escaped me, ringing harshly through the quiet cafe. Did someone hold a gun to your head and force you to sleep with her? He stumbled back a step, his face completely drained of blood, his arms falling limp at his sides, as though every ounce of strength had left him, standing there, shattered, like a man watching his entire world collapse in front of him. The rain poured down like a heavy gray curtain, blurring the city lights, each drop striking the pavement with a steady, melancholic rhythm. I stood in front of the hospital's emergency entrance. Earlier that afternoon, while signing the final papers at the lawyer's office to end my marriage, a sudden wave of dizziness hit me, my mind spinning. I came to the hospital to check, and the nurse smiled gently, her voice soft and warm, as though sharing my joy. Congratulations, you're pregnant. The baby is developing well. I stared at the tiny faint dot on the ultrasound, a small speck of light powerful enough to make my heart tremble. My fingertips quivered slightly as they brushed against the fragile sheet, as if touching something breakable. This baby. It couldn't have come at a worse time, like a cruel joke from fate. Leaving the examination room, I unexpectedly collided with a pair of drenched arms, the familiar scent of cedarwood mixed with damp rain filling my lungs. Laura! James stood there, soaked through, wet hair clinging to his forehead, his eyes burning with a fire tangled in worry and desperation. I've been looking for you all day. His voice was hoarse, breath uneven, his shirt clinging tightly to his body. His gaze fell on the ultrasound in my hand, and his words caught, strangled in his throat. Is this... He grabbed my wrist, causing the sheet to slip from my hand, the ultrasound landing on the wet ground, its corner soaking through as his stunned eyes tried to focus on the smudged letters. His face froze, then suddenly lit up with fragile joy. "We're having a baby!" His voice shook as he stepped forward to hold me, but I pushed him away, not hard, but firm enough. Bending to pick up the paper, my voice cold. "There's no baby. It was just a follow-up check." I slipped the paper into my bag and walked past him, fighting to hide the crashing waves of emotion swelling inside. He followed quickly, grabbing at my sleeve, his voice frantic, edged with despair. "I know I messed up. Laura!" His breath came ragged, rain streaming down his face, soaking his lashes. "I called you so many times." I unlocked my phone, the screen lighting up cold and pale, showing over 30 missed calls from his number. The phone was on silent. I said evenly, my tone flat. "Why are you here?" "Ashley said she saw your car come in here." He reached out, his hand hesitating as it rose toward my forehead, as if to check if I was okay. But I tilted my head away, a faint, tired smile tugging at my lips. "I'm fine." His expression softened a little, but his eyes darted between hope and doubt, searching for truth in my guarded silence. Finally, he rested a hand gently on my shoulder, his voice hoarse and heavy. "If something's wrong, you have to tell me." I stepped back, opening my black umbrella again, the fabric spreading between us like a barrier. In the rain, a strange silence hung in the air, broken only by the soft drum of raindrops and his strained breathing. After a long moment, he exhaled deeply, his voice weary. "Let me walk you to the parking lot." "No need," I replied firmly, tucking my phone into my bag. "My driver is waiting." Suddenly, his hand closed around my wrist, his grip tight, as if afraid I might vanish right there. "Do you really have to be this way? Can't we—" "James," I cut him off, my voice cold, steady, like the rain pouring down around us. "Between us, there's nothing left to say." The curtain of rain fell heavier, dividing us into two separate worlds, unreachable to one another. His Adam's apple bobbed sharply, his wet lashes trembling faintly beneath the rain. But they couldn't hide the storm in his eyes, pain, regret, and a flicker of helpless desperation. His long fingers hovered just a centimeter from my sleeve, frozen mid-air, as if he didn't dare touch me, afraid to shatter the fragile thread holding us here. "Laura!" His voice broke, low and shaking, carrying a quiet plea. "Don't do this." I looked at the man who once meant everything to me, and his eyes now were the same as that night he proposed, kneeling, holding my hand, promising, "I'll make you the happiest woman in the world." How bitterly ironic that promise felt now, like the cruelest joke. "James," I whispered, my voice soft but sharp as a blade, "do you know what the funniest part is?" His eyes lifted, confusion clouding the hope lingering there. "That night, I thought I'd forgive you, but instead, you betrayed me." I turned, stepping away beneath the black umbrella, leaving him standing there, unmoving, as the rain streamed down his face, disguising the tears he couldn't let fall. I jolted upright from bed with a violent wave of nausea, clutching my stomach as I stumbled into the bathroom. The sound of water running from the shower blended with my ragged breathing, tangled and chaotic. In the mirror, my face was pale as cracked porcelain, my lips drained of color. It had been 2 weeks since I found out I was pregnant. The morning sickness was getting worse. I leaned against the sink, lifting my gaze to the calendar on the wall. Today, James had arranged to meet me at an upscale restaurant. A private room tucked deep inside, warm golden lights, wine already opened, and passion fruit grilled fish, my old favorite, waiting on the table. He sat there in a crisp white shirt, tie loosened, face drawn and tired, like a man who hadn't slept in days. "Laura?" He stood up, pulled out the chair for me, his eyes downcast, avoiding mine. I sat, my gaze stopping at his hand. The wedding ring was still there, glinting faintly beneath the soft light. He was still wearing it. The waiter refilled our glasses. James picked up his chopsticks, carefully placing a piece of fish onto my plate, his voice trembling faintly. The doctor said, "Ashley is pregnant." The air seemed to slow, sounds retreating into the distance. My chopsticks froze midair. A rush of blood roared in my ears. A cold chill crawled down my spine. "Ah," my voice cracked, rough, stuck in my throat. "I see." He didn't look at me, his head lowered slightly, his Adam's apple bobbing. "Actually, the doctor said I don't have any fertility issues." He didn't finish, but I understood. One time, just once. Ashley gets pregnant. And me, 3 empty years. I picked up my fork, lifted the grilled fish to my mouth, the same dish I once loved most. But today, it was bitter, overpowering. The smell of the fish mixed with the heavy scent of wine, pounding against my skull. I forced it down, my stomach twisting violently, then rushed to the bathroom. When I came back, I stopped at the doorway. There, Ashley was sitting in my seat. Pale pink dress, delicate, off-shoulder. She leaned her head against James's shoulder, one hand curled lightly around his arm. The golden light washed over her curled hair, making it shimmer. She tilted her face up, smiling faintly. "Laura's throwing up that much. Don't tell me she's pregnant too?" The room froze. The sound of the air conditioner hummed so loud it was unbearable. I wiped the corner of my mouth, lifting my head to meet her gaze. My eyes were ice. James clenched his fists, fumbling for words. "Laura, you really—" Suddenly, Ashley stood up. Her pale pink dress swayed gently, the tiny rose patterns trembling with her movements. She bit her lip, her soft voice laced with hidden thorns. "Laura, I know you want to hold on to James. But faking a pregnancy, to trick him, that's going too far." My hand rested on the napkin, still. No answer. Ashley stepped closer, the scent of lavender perfume hitting my face. She grabbed my hand and pressed it hard against her stomach, her long, sharp nails digging into my skin, stinging sharply. Her voice was sweet, almost a whisper, but each word was sharp as glass. "Feel it, James's baby. Over a month now." The wine glass on the table rolled slightly. James sat frozen, wide-eyed, pupils dilating, his breath uneven, his fists clenched so tightly they trembled. "Enough!" I pulled my hand back slowly, firmly. I wiped my fingers clean with the napkin, my eyes never leaving hers. My voice was even, cold. "It's just stomach pain. Nothing to do with you." James stiffened. His gaze dropped to my stomach, searching for a flicker of hope, but all he saw was a wall of ice. He lowered his head, letting out a small, hollow laugh, rough in his throat. "Right, all these years." Ashley gripped his hand tighter, tilting her head, her tone almost commanding. "James, you have to give our baby a home." James looked at me. His tired, lost eyes seemed to plead for something, a word, a reaction, anything. But I just sat there, silent. No frown, no sigh, no response. Finally, he closed his eyes, exhaled long and deep, then picked up the pen, and signed. The scratch of the pen against paper echoed harshly in the quiet room. When he set it down, his head remained bowed. He didn't look at me. I slipped the divorce papers into my bag, stood, and smiled softly. "I hope you two stay together forever." The next day, the news of Ashley's pregnancy spread across our circle of friends. Online, photos appeared of James with his arm around Ashley's waist, Ashley holding up a blurred ultrasound photo, smiling radiantly, pride glowing in her eyes. The caption beneath read, "True love never arrives late." I scrolled past it, turned off my phone, leaned back in my chair. My fingers tapped lightly against the desk, my eyes half closed. A long, steady breath. True love? Too bad. The timing was wrong. The following morning, my assistant knocked and entered, carrying a thick stack of files. Mrs. Winters. The report from the investigator. I took it. Papers rustling softly as I flipped through a few pages. My lips curved faintly. The pregnancy was before they even met? I closed the file and lifted my gaze toward the window, a cold smile brushing my lips. I wonder if James has realized the baby isn't his. My assistant hesitated. Do you want me to send this to him now? I slowly swirled my coffee, watching the foam spiral into tiny circles. Number not yet. She placed another folder on the desk. Here, it's confirmed. 4 months before coming back, Ashley was frequently spotted at bars, hotels, and— her voice dropped lower. Her ex was a British guy. During their relationship, she was still seeing multiple others. I nodded slightly, taking the documents, opening my laptop, fingers tapping steadily on the keyboard. Send everything to James. I paused, then smiled faintly, my voice low, sharp. Title it, Congratulations, James. You're a father. 3 days later, the scandal exploded. Every transaction, the embezzlement, the house, the designer bags, the luxury trips for Ashley, exposed in full detail. In the boardroom, James was forced to resign as CEO, ordered to repay over $2 million. He stood there, pale as ash, lips trembling, sweat pooling at his temples. His fists clenched tightly, but uselessly. The man who once thought he had everything ended up with nothing. Victory didn't need a scream. Silence was enough. 5 years have passed. Time flowed quietly, like a summer river carrying away every painful fragment, every muffled sob, and every sleepless night. I don't know exactly when I managed to step out of that darkness. I only know that now. I'm standing somewhere entirely different. A new city, a small villa nestled on a tree-lined street. My study is wrapped in a soft calm. The afternoon light pours through the glass window, spilling across shelves of polished walnut, reflecting gently on the paintings I chose myself, with not a single corner left haunted by the shadows of old memories. Click. The door creaks open, a sliver of light slipping in from the hallway. A tiny head peeks in, her little ponytail swaying playfully with each step. Trina, my daughter, 5 years old. Her small arms clutch a thick sketchbook, and her bright eyes sparkle like dewdrops catching sunlight. Mommy! I look up, a faint smile blooming at the corner of my lips. She walks in, the sunlight falling from behind her, outlining her little floral dress with a soft golden halo. I set my pen down, opening my arms. Come here, sweetheart. The sound of her tiny feet pattering across the floor. Then she's in my arms. The soft scent of milk, the faint warmth of the sun tangled in her hair, strands brushing gently against my chin. She holds up her sketchbook, her voice brimming with excitement, like she's just discovered treasure. Look, Mommy! I drew this in art class today. I take the book and flip through the pages. Crayon strokes glimmer faintly under the afternoon light, and then one drawing makes me pause. A little girl with pigtails standing before castle, beside a woman in a long dress, holding her hand. Disneyland, I whisper, as memories sweep over me like a gentle breeze. That day, the sky was impossibly blue, her laughter echoing through the vastness, and I remember standing there, my heart lighter than air. She nods eagerly, her eyes curving like a crescent moon. You promised. You'd take me there again. Remember. I stroke her silky, soft hair, letting my fingers weave through the tiny strands, my heart slowing for just a beat. I remember. Next week, our class is going to the zoo, she bursts out, then leans closer, whispering like she's sharing the world's biggest secret. I want to see the giraffes and the pandas, too. I laugh softly, my smile reaching my eyes, planting a gentle kiss on her little head. Mmm, we'll go together, I promise. Outside the window, the late afternoon sky fades slowly, the last rays of sunlight spilling across the wooden floor like gold, wrapping us in a quiet embrace, me and this tiny little soul curled up in my lap. And in that moment, I realize freedom isn't about forgetting the past, it's about accepting that it's behind you and learning to love what you have right now. I look at Trina, her small fingers sketching shapes in the air, her bright eyes holding entire constellations inside them. A soft breeze rustles the curtains, carrying the delicate scent of lavender blooming in the garden. Peaceful, gentle, whole. Sometimes freedom isn't in leaving. It's in the moment you choose to hold your own happiness. I close my eyes, leaning back in my chair, taking in the deep breath of a summer afternoon where the sound of a child's laughter fills a sunlit room. And I know my journey has reached a quiet pause, a new beginning, a new life. After everything. If it were you, would you choose forgiveness? Or would you choose to start over? Share your thoughts with me in the comments below. I'll read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.